What is kitting? Kitting is a process used in manufacturing to reduce line site complexity, material handling, equipment costs, pig zone, also known as golden zone obstructions. A little bit on golden zone to talk about it. Golden zone is the best for the operator to be able to pick. You know, without them having to turn around, without them having to move to the side, stretch, it is just the best point for them to pick. Can't always reach the golden zone, but utilizing kitting does minimize getting outside of the golden zone. Kitting can be formed either from a specific cell, away from the assembly line, directly from the stores, from the supplier, even in the warehouse. Kitting can be defined as a process of delivering all required parts or components for the assembly of a specific section of a final product. So that is to say, if you have several parts onto an assembly in one specific area, you can kit all those parts through the assembly line. That makes it easier on line side display, puts less congestion on the line, also gives the operator a better opportunity to stay within a good pick zone. We'll talk a little bit about sub-assemblies. Sub-assembly is oftentimes confused with kitting. Now, you might use kitting in a sub-assembly more oftentimes than not. However, the sub-assembly itself is not kitting. The kitting cell will be set up elsewhere and brought through the sub-assembly cell. Sub-assembly cells are cells where a portion, a part, a specific part number will be built prior to being put onto the final product. Maybe a piston will have the rings put on it and then brought to the line. Well, the assembly was done offline, then brought to the line somewhere. Sub-assembly can be defined as a process of utilizing two or more part numbers or components to build a new independent part number, which includes all the components of the sub-assembly. Sounds a little confusing. Basically, every portion of that sub-assembly has a specific part number. But once a sub-assembly is built, the part number changes, it becomes one part number. Sub-assemblies are delivered to the assembly line as a part number, ready to install on the final product. The materials group may deliver the components for the sub-assembly to the point of use through either individual parts or as a kit. But as we said earlier, oftentimes it is brought to the sub-assembly as a kit. Once the sub-assembly is built, responsibility for getting the new part of the assembly line generally does lie on the production group, the assembly group's responsibility. However, it does have to be looked at. If the sub-assembly is being built quite a distance away from the point of use, arrangements can have to be made for materials to bring that sub-assembly to the line. So you got to remain flexible and open-minded on it. Which kits be utilized? Kitting should be at least considered whenever one or more of the following conditions apply. But only use kits when the business case justifies it. Don't just use kits to satisfy some requirement within the corporation. Several small components are needed to build one complete portion of the overall assembly, such as seals within a cylinder, ring kits for pistons, antenna assemblies in cars. Kitting should be used when a particular component is sequenced due to slight variances in the specification, such as color, type, or model. Door handles in a car is a good example. Hard drive sizes in computer manufacturing. Different model being built on the same assembly line could also be sometimes you want to look at the sequencing. It's important to note that sequencing requires careful planning, strict adherence to the procedures set in place for control. We will not be covering sequencing within this webinar. It's a whole other animal of its own. Setting up the kit requires careful planning and a fair amount of research. Kitting teams need to be formed. Possible kitting assemblies need to be identified. Space away from the assembly line must be reserved to set up for kitting cells. Team meeting areas should be set up. Regular meeting dates and times should be. Some of the kitting team members, generally the first person on the team would be the materials engineer. Successful buy-in each field that will utilize the kit anyway should have a representative on the team. Material would generally be the project manager, the kitting manager, generally in charge of setting up the kits and keeping the team on track and focused in the timelines. To put together a proper business case to justify the need for the kitting cell. I can't emphasize enough the importance of this. Kitting cells are expensive. They take people. It requires manpower. It requires additional flow in the plant, traffic in the plant. So make sure your business case is sound and justified for it. The materials engineer is responsible for setting up and controlling the meetings. They also work with plant management to ensure that all the team members can allot time to the team. You don't want to have a team and people can't make it to the meeting. That will not be successful. You won't get the proper buy-in. And once you decide going in a certain direction, somebody will always come back later on and say, I wasn't at that meeting. We shouldn't do that. Materials engineer tracks, publishes meeting minutes to the team and management. I specify and management. Ensure those minutes get to them all the time. They track the budget, ensure the funding is available. If we don't have the money to do it, there's no sense in even trying to move forward. Next member of the team would be the materials team member. The materials team member will be either an operator setting up the kits, picking the parts, or a member from the materials group, such as the team leader. They ensure the picking process is efficient within union guidelines if applicable. Helps ensure the buy-in from the material team operators. If we don't have the buy-in from people actually doing the job, it's going to fail. You need to get that buy-in. Provide feedback on the ability of the team to ask to the allotted cycle time. Cycle times have to be made. So for management, oftentimes is big grand ideas, not keeping in mind that we still have to make the cycle time. They're able to give a lot of best practices from the past. Most of the material team members and team leaders, they've been doing this for a while. They've been in the plant. They know how it goes. They see what works and what doesn't. Their input is valuable at that point. They assist in the flow of the kitting cell. That goes back to their experience. They can see how they're better off setting up these racks over here and these racks over here for certain reasons. We really want to include them on the stuff there. They'll test the cell. They'll recommend changes prior to putting the cell in the final production. Production team member. Production team member will be either the operator using the kits, the line, or a designated representative, once again, such as the team leader. Production feedback, usability of the kit, suggest additional parts to be added to the kit, or recommend removal of parts contained within the kit. Provide input, the organization of the kit, how it's presented to the line. Once again, that goes back to the best picking position, holding zone. They help ensure buy-in from the rest of the production team members. They test the kit to ensure the cycle time can be met on the line. The kit is too big. They're not able to get all the parts on the final assembly. Then it's not going to work out. The equipment engineer. The equipment engineer will be the person responsible for the acquisition of all the equipment required to set up, utilize the kit efficiently and effectively. Equipment engineer will work with the suppliers to create a kit delivery method, such as a kitting box, a kitting container, even a kitting rack. It's pretty unlimited as to how and what you could use to bring the kit to the final assembly line. So you want to think out of the box and think of the most effective and efficient way of doing it. You want to make sure that your parts are set safely. You want to ensure that nothing's going to get damaged. And you want to ensure that it has enough space for both the operator to get his hands in there and remove the parts, also for the fit on the appropriate racks that you're going to put them on the line. Test the kit delivery method and ensure it's properly set up. It's the most efficient and effective manner. And ensure the parts are safe and secure. The equipment engineer acquires the required equipment to set up the cell, such as the racks. Maybe it'll be an indexer. They may need to use pick lights on a certain cell. They may even be delivered in containers. They set up the area where the kitting cell will be stationed. So they're the ones who will follow the plan and actually put the containers or the racks in the proper location. They ensure the area is secure. Can't have a dangerous area. We can't have foot traffic coming through a kitting cell. You need to ensure that there's nobody else in the area, so the cell has to be clearly marked so that others know to stay out of it. Put the racks, indexers, pick lights, and containers in place to set up the final kitting cell. The equipment engineer also works with safety, ensure each piece of equipment is within the safety guidelines and is ergonomically correct. To do this prior to the purchase. Generally, you go to the supplier's location with safety, and you get a buy-off. You provide a team with input on the cost and the feasibility of the required equipment. Kitting cells are already rather expensive, so you want to look at your equipment and use the most inexpensive possible equipment. Sometimes it's a little more pricey than you had planned. You may have to relook at it and come up with a different way. Safety and ergonomics team will also be on your kitting team. Safety representatives is a vital part of the team. Although they're not directly responsible for the selection of the kits or the setup of the kit, they do approve the location and ensure the setup of the kitting cell is safe. All ergonomic guidelines are followed. They give input to the safety approval of any equipment to be used, as we talked about. They look at the kitting boxes, ensure that nobody's getting their hands cut reaching in there. The containers, the kitting racks, even indexers. Everything needs to be looked at and ensure that it falls within safety guidelines. Safety team ensures the safety and the delivery, the flow, the path, to and from the marketplace to the kitting cell, and from the kitting cell to the assembly line. We don't want people carrying kit boxes to the assembly line crossing a high traffic area. That needs to be looked at pretty carefully. They also provide the teams with best practices and input from past cells. Often you'll find that your safety people have been involved in so much. They already have good ideas. They already know what you can and can't do, what will be successful, what won't. You really want to pick their minds for that. The materials manager is an important person on the team. They usually have the final say on everything. They have the overall approval. They recommend to the team the parts that should be put into a kit. They see it, that they've been there, they've done it. They assign part kit numbers, ensure the management system, such as Kanban, is updated to support the new kitting information. They go to the plant manager for final approval. They remove roadblocks and barriers. So other organizations may be throwing it away. Some of those roadblocks might be space. It might be equipment problems. It could be even for truck operators not able to get to the area. We provide best practice information and historical data. Generally, they've been involved with it, just like the safety, just like the other representatives. They have a lot of good input. Now, the materials manager is the one person who may not be at every meeting. However, they do need to be kept informed. They're an essential part of the team. They need to be sure that all the minutes get to them. Any issues should be gone to them. They should really be utilized as your final roadblock remover, also your final approver. Talk a little bit about the kitting cell. Kitting cells are essential. They have an effective kitting process. You can't just kit in the middle of nowhere, someplace that you found, and start kitting. You need to set up a good, effective cell. Kitting cells might be set up in a marketplace, might be set up in an assembly area near the point of use, and at times it might even be delivered from a supplier in a kit already. Kitting cells should be used only for kitting purposes of the assigned parts, regardless of location, which also limits space available to the feasibility of the kit. So that is to say, if you have a large kitting cell, it should never be used to maybe store some materials over there because you have a little bit of room. It should never be used as a break area. It should only be used for the specific intent of kitting. Anybody who doesn't belong in there should not be in there. Kitting cells need to be clearly marked and identified within the plant layout. There should be no motive power equipment at all operated within the kitting cell. Last any kitting operator needs to worry about is getting run over by a fork truck or a tugger. Only essential personnel should be allowed within the kitting cell. Minimize the traffic, confusion, and the possibility of parts getting out of sequence if we're looking at sequence parts. Since kitting cell operators are on their feet all day, be sure they have proper ergonomic flooring. Be sure that you can do everything you can to minimize the fatigue. Help ensure the operator's efficiency. Staff in the kitting cell. Kitting is primarily a materials operation. However, in some organizations, online kitting will fall under the production organization. But generally, and for our purposes here, primarily a materials operation. Well, the cell itself is generally going to have to be staffed by the materials group. The head count of the cell should only be high enough to properly and effectively maintain cycle time. Don't want to put extra people in there. Don't want to put extra head count. If the cell is located in the stores at a marketplace, it is possible that the currently assigned staff in that area may do the kitting while picking and issuing the parts. That needs to be looked at also. They have some other responsibilities. You may have to add head count to that. If the cell is set up online or elsewhere within the plant, the materials group will need to staff the cell. Since kitting saves time and space on the assembly line itself, it is possible the production may provide materials with head count rather than hiring new head count. So if we're able to remove 20 cells from the assembly line by doing some kitting, you may be able to add people from the production group to the materials group. Kitting employees need proper training on both computer usage and picking, the sequence, and problem identifications and issues. If anything's coming up, they need to immediately inform the proper people. Don't assume they already know, and don't assume they'll do it. Make sure you do the proper training. Kitting containers come in all shapes and sizes, as we talked about before. Kitting container needs to be made to complement the packaging, delivery, and the point of use. Container may need to be customized to fit and protect the parts properly, along with being practical for packing and for the display at the point of use. So if you look at a few of the pictures here, you can see that there is no specific kitting container. Use what you have to use, go work with your suppliers, make sure it's safe, make sure it's effective, make sure it does what it has to do, and all the parts can be clearly looked at within the container. Kitting delivery methods. Delivery methods are unlimited, basically. To deliver almost any function, any form you need to, as long as it's safe, effective, and it's most efficient. Delivery points should be limited to a maximum of 2 point-of-use locations. Parts should only be delivered to the kitting cell and the assembly line. We shouldn't be moving from one kitting cell to the next location and then eventually to the kitting line. They should always go directly from the kitting cell to the assembly line. Delivering to the kitting cell may be as simple as picking from the marketplace we talked about, setting up the kit at that pick point and delivering to the assembly line. Often the kitting cell is located within the plant area near the assembly line, which will require the use of motor power equipment, maybe flow racks, other types of containers, and other traditional delivery methods. Delivering to the kitting cell should be part of the normal flow route and other delivery drivers. So material flow engineer needs to ensure that they're putting this into their studies. New separate routes should not be set up for kitting unless it's absolutely essential. You should try to integrate the flow routes with the current material flow to reduce head count to allow you to be more effective and efficient. Traffic congestion should be reduced. Utilizing trains carrying several different part numbers at once always a good idea. Delivery to the point of use, or the assembly line, will be determined by the location of the kitting cell. A traditional motor power delivery, such as fork trucks, tuggers, are common methods of delivery, but more efficient methods should also be explored. Special racks, automatic guided vehicles to eliminate the need for additional headcount, pedestrian safety issues in the plant. If the kitting cell is set up online, the kit might be able to ride along the assembly line, utilizing special kit packaging, such as customized bags on hangers. When the kitting cell is set up close enough to the point of use, the kit might even be hand-delivered, just walked over. Regardless of the delivery method, safety, cycle time, and cost need to be considered first in all of it. Training is essential to have an effective kitting operation. Each operator involved in the kit in any way will require thorough training on each step contained within their responsible task. We talked about before, don't assume they already know it. Formal hands-on training courses will need to be set up. Some of the classes might be very extensive. They may take several hours. Sometimes it's just as simple as pick this part, put it in this box. Sometimes it's simple. Don't assume whether it's simple or extravagant if the operator knows it. SOPs need to be set up. They should be posted right at the point of use. Every spot that's located with the kitting needs to have a separate SOP for that particular kit. There is no general SOP that you put in all the kitting cells. SOP will need to be created by the kitting team, be approved by management and safety. SOP should contain pictures, step-by-step procedures. It should be used as a training document. Operator feedback throughout the whole process will be needed to improve the training and the kitting procedures. Regular follow-up flexibility be required for the improvements. Not usually going to get it right the first time. If you get it close, there's always some kind of improvement. You need to stay open-minded of that improvement and adjust as you go. The most effective method. Take a look at some samples of kitting cells, different plans. The boxes, if you look over the right, the kitting boxes were specially made and customized. Look at some cells. A few more pictures of some cells. Notice the ergo flooring. Notice pick lights on the racks. See here are some bags that were being used for HGCs. So we talked about what is kitting today. Talked about the difference between kitting, sub-assemblies. Talked about when kitting should be utilized. Talked about the kitting team. Talked about setting up the kitting cell, staffing the kitting cell, kitting containers, delivery methods, training. We looked at some sample pictures.